Hi, I'm Rachel Asenis, and this is Inside Santa Barbara, the news magazine that takes you inside the city's most important issues, projects, and events. Well, thanks to our Harbor Patrol, today we are coming to you from the beautiful Santa Barbara Harbor, where you can find stunning views, great food, and lots of history. And speaking of history, there's a huge restoration project in town making a lot of noise. In our top story, we go inside the historic Granada Theater, where we take a sneak peek at its amazing transformation. On April 19, 1924, a beautiful Spanish Moorish-style theater opened in downtown Santa Barbara. The Granada offered premieres and sneak previews of historic films like Gone with the Wind and Guys and Dolls. Throughout the years, the theater hosted some of the world's most famous entertainers, like Doris Day and Kirk Douglas, just to name a few. Today, over 80 years since its creation, the Granada Theater is undergoing major restoration in order to revive the look and feel of the 1920s. The Granada will come alive in September of 2007 as a world-class venue for music, theater, dance, films, and lectures.
It's the most exciting project I've ever built in Santa Barbara, or anywhere else for that matter.
The restoration plan includes expanding the theater's lobby.
This is going to be a wonderful, sort of glorious entrance. We're actually moving the lobby wall back about 10 feet from where it used to be, which is giving even more of a spacious lobby. And a beautiful set of doors will be at the front to welcome people in. This is the box office. It's a storefront. It has never been used before as part of the Granada. So we have the great advantage of having this extra space. The former box office, of course, was one of those little cubicles in front of the theater, and when you have 1,550 people coming into the theater at once, those box offices, of course, are useless.
If you've sat through theater shows before, you know that comfort is key, so not to worry, the theater's board members got the chance to sit and test out several different seats, and according to them, this one is the most comfortable, and it feels pretty good to me. Well, there will be 1,500 of these in the theater, and not only will audience members be sitting comfy for several hours, but the seats will also fit nicely with the rest of the theater's Spanish theme.
And we're picking not only the most comfortable, but the most handsome. Our attempt is to make them look like they were the original seats. And they all have a period quality to them. Perhaps you can see on some of the end caps the old-fashioned look, and that will be restored for us.
Also in the restoration plan is a new basement, which will be 14 feet below the previous level. It will hold 50 new makeup stations and 11 new dressing rooms. Lighting up the theater will be the original chandelier. After being stored away for years, it too will come alive.
The bottom of it is actually opaque, and it shines into the disc above that oval and creates all of this wonderful indirect light. Everybody who remembers that from many, many years ago says that it was really an exquisite glow.
With the theater's look changing on a day-to-day basis, it is well on its way to a beautiful transformation. And although there has been much progress, the restoration process for a historic building can be a challenge.
A renovation is always more difficult than building a brand new structure because you're dealing with existing conditions. You're dealing with walls that were built back in the 20s and trying to figure out dimensionally how those walls work with the new structure that's going to be built within them.
Every time that I come in here and every time I tour, I am shocked by all the things that have been done since the previous time.
By this time next year, theater goers will have the opportunity to enjoy the experience of the Granada Theater as it was in the 1920s. Many claim that this historical landmark will be an economic boon to downtown businesses, as well as establish itself as a leader for the cultural arts district in the area.
When we're done, you're going to see something that maybe you might experience in New York or Chicago or some other big cities, but it's going to be here in Santa Barbara.
A three-part educational program will also be created at the Granada. This will include youth field trips to Granada performances, special arts workshops, and a program that involves youth performing for other youth. For the latest news on the Granada Theater Restoration Project, go to our website at citytv18.com. Well, Stearns Wharf is the longest pier between LA and San Francisco, and it is Santa Barbara's most visited landmark. The wharf has long been an epicenter for commerce and activity. Up next, our History 101 series continues as we take you back in time and show you the importance of this historical landmark.
Santa Barbara has long been a destination resort town favored by travelers and tourists for its stunning vistas and relaxing atmosphere. But if you wanted to travel to Santa Barbara before the late 1800s, getting to this paradise often meant going through hell.
Santa Barbara was probably a miserable place to come to. You only had two choices, really. You had stagecoach, and coming in by stagecoach was sort of like you get really seasick. The stagecoach is balanced on these straps. It swings back and forth, and so the roads are lousy, so you're just swinging back and forth. Miserable way to come. If you came by ship, the only way to get ashore was to be rowed ashore. Now, on a day like this, we've got nice small waves coming in, no problem to bring passengers and cargo ashore. But with more inclement weather or just bigger surf, more than likely you'd get wet or tossed out of the rowboat on the way in. Now, the legend is that if you didn't cough up a tip, just as the boat gets to where the waves are starting to really roll and foam, if you didn't cough up a tip, well, it wasn't their fault if the boat would turn sideways and you and your cargo and passengers would just get soaking wet.
At that time, Santa Barbara was booming and new residents were beginning to build more and more structures out of wood instead of adobe. Because there was no wharf, large goods like lumber were simply tossed overboard and left to float to shore.
So you'd be picking up your lumber anywhere from West Beach all the way down to East Beach there. Very inefficient way to get your lumber.
Enter John P. Stearns, a successful attorney from Santa Cruz who saw opportunity in the building boom. Stearns opened the first lumber mill in Santa Barbara County. His only problem was getting the lumber from ship to shore. In 1868, there was a 500-foot pier at the base of Chapala Street, but it was too short to accommodate larger vessels. The owners weren't interested in expanding their pier for Stearns either.
They were perfectly happy with that arrangement because they had a monopoly on the small boats that would lighter people and lumber, etc., from the large ships to the end of the small pier. So they were making their money.
Stearns decided to take matters into his own hands.
He went to W. Hollister and borrowed $41,000 to build his wharf. And by the middle of 1873, Stearns Wharf, 2,100 feet long, which made it the longest pier between San Francisco and Los Angeles, was open for business.
Stearns Wharf immediately transformed the city, becoming the commercial hub of the region. After the Southern Pacific Railroad reached Santa Barbara, a Y was constructed in 1888 to move goods to and from ships. Soon after, the rails became the preferred mode of transportation, and the wharf was forced to evolve.
It became the center of Santa Barbara's fishing industry. Also, as we move into the 1900s, tourism was becoming more and more important. So as you approach the Second World War, tourism had also become an important element of the wharf's operation.
During World War II, the wharf was closed because of fears of sabotage. After the war, the wharf reopened and was soon bought by a group of businessmen, which included actor James Cagney.
They bought it for $200,000, and they were soon shocked to find out that it was going to take much more than the purchase price in order to fix up the wharf, because the wharf had sort of fallen into a sad state of disrepair. So they soon got out of the picture, and then a local man, a furniture dealer by the name of Leo Saunders, bought the wharf.
Under Saunders, the wharf flirted with profitability but was plagued by problems. In 1955, Saunders relinquished control of the wharf to a group led by local fishermen George and Mario Castagnola. That group poured $1 million into repairs and over $200,000 into renovating the harbor restaurant. A fire in 1973 destroyed the harbor restaurant. The wharf was left in such bad condition that after a year it was closed.
The City Council had a plan put forward to go to the Coastal Commission and essentially redevelop the wharf like Pier 39 in San Francisco. It was about 25,000 square feet of development out here at the time of the fire is about that same amount today, but they wanted to increase that to about 90,000 square feet of development. So essentially you'd be walking through a canyon of buildings, but they felt that's what it would take to make it economically viable.
Citizens felt such a plan was a gross overdevelopment and would take away from the ambiance of the wharf. A few more proposals followed, each one much larger than the old wharf, and each one shot down by the Coastal Commission.
At that point, City Council decided that maybe they should just tear the whole wharf down and build essentially an extension of the breakwater. Essentially it'd be like a rock quay out here that would close off most of the waterfront with rocks.
A group of citizens learned the Coastal Commission would approve restoring the wharf to its previous square footage. They raised $7 million, and in 1981, the wharf reopened to rave reviews and fantastic financial success.
In fact, the Coastal Commission did a study about 3 years after this opened, and they found that Stearns Wharf, even though it's far smaller than Pier 39, at that point in time was producing more cash than Pier 39 was in San Francisco. So when you come out here, part of it is the total experience of being in Santa Barbara and understanding its history and spending money, not just coming out here to spend money and buy a t-shirt.
In the 25 years since reopening, the wharf has been battered by storms and damaged by major fires 3 times. 2007 marks the wharf's 135th anniversary, and because it holds so much of our past, many say Stearns Wharf will long be a part of Santa Barbara's future. Well, in the Santa Barbara Channel, over 100 local fishermen catch between 6 and 10 million pounds of seafood annually. And every year, we get to taste the breadth of that bounty at the Harbor and Seafood Festival. Christy Zwicky takes us there.
In the Santa Barbara Channel, over 100 local fishermen catch between 6 and 10 million pounds of seafood annually. And every year, we get to taste some of that bounty at the Harbor and Seafood Festival.
We moved it from the spring to the fall, and we turned the focus back into what the harbor does best. It's working commercial fishing fleet, the businesses, the organizations, the agencies, the volunteers that help make the working harbor the wonderful place that it is.
Santa Barbara Channel is an exclusive channel for many different types of fish because we not only inherit the migratory fish from tropical waters, but we also inherit migratory fish that come in from the northern parts of California. So you've got a variety of fish here at certain times of the year. Our lobster, our crab, and our urchins are one of our mainstays.
About 8,000 locals came to meet the fishermen face-to-face, buy their freshly caught seafood right off the boat, and then eat it cooked to order. The event raised thousands of dollars for the Page Youth Center and also offered boat rides, cooking demonstrations, and interactive maritime education.
Here they are, here's dinner.
And no matter how cute those lobsters are, they sure make for one tasty lunch. Yes, from the fresh crab boil to Brophy Brothers clam chowder, you'll never run out of things to eat here.
I was speaking with a gentleman a minute ago who told me he'd been training for 2.5 days. I guess he'd been fasting in anticipation of coming in and indulging in seafood from morning till night here at the festival today. And who can blame him? I mean, where else can you get, lobster boiled right in front of you here and albacore barbecued with a special secret marinade sauce?
And on this, there's probably about 50 or 60 pieces of roe, so 5 to 6 sea urchins, maybe 10 sea urchins.
The Santa Barbara Harbor and Seafood Festival can introduce you to some interesting seafood that you may never have tried before. This is uni, or sea urchin, which has been a mainstay in the Santa Barbara Channel since the 70s. And it's actually my first time ever eating any, so here it goes. It's quite good. It tastes like the sea.
The California sea urchin here that comes out of Santa Barbara and the local environment is very high quality, second only to Japanese indigenous sea urchins. And the sea urchin market has developed over time to be probably the second largest fishery in the state, headquartered here essentially in Santa Barbara.
Thanks to the festival, I have a newfound appreciation for the uni that keeps showing up at my favorite sushi restaurants. And for those that missed this year's festival, you can recreate the experience every Saturday morning from 7:30 to 11 a.m. at the harbor, where you can continue to buy Santa Barbara seafood fresh off the boat.
It's so wonderful to see people enjoying and celebrating the sustainable bounty of our channel. It's really a treat to be able to share that with people and have them really gain an appreciation for what the commercial fishermen do here.
That sea urchin looked really good. Well, for some more information, go to sbfish.com. Well, visitors to downtown have long known that when nature called, locating a convenient restroom wasn't easy to do. Not to worry, though, the city has just unveiled some new public restrooms.
I think what we need to do is cut this ribbon in case anybody has to go. I mean, leave. Okay, ready?
You might expect a little potty humor at the grand opening of public restrooms. But if you've been downtown, knowing where to go if you have to, well, go is no joke. Rest assured, there are now brand new restrooms right in the middle of downtown at 914 State Street between Borders Bookstore and parking lot number 9. The new building boasts Spanish Mediterranean detail and a number of green features.
It's got low-flow toilets, it's got waterless urinals, it's got skylights to keep the electricity costs down, the floor tiles are from recycled material, and it's got baby changing stations in the women's bathroom and the men's bathroom as well.
But the new restrooms aren't the only ones available to the public in downtown. There are 20 other public access restrooms in the downtown and waterfront areas. 3 of those are offered by private businesses that are taking part in the city's visitor restroom program. This program compensates business operators for participating.
The city is currently looking for more businesses to participate in the visitor restroom program. For more information, call Lou Lazarine at the city's Community Development Department at 564-5461. Well, in America today, 1 in 4 youth, that's 14.3 million children, are alone and unsupervised after school. Up next, Brooke Hawkins shows us how Santa Barbara is shedding light on the importance of this issue.
On October 12th, the City of Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation Department and the Santa Barbara School District hosted a carnival at Cesar Chavez Elementary School to celebrate and call attention to the importance of after-school programs for local youth.
Lights On After School Program is a national program that the city is doing for its first year, and it promotes not only Parks and Rec after-school programs, but programs in the community. So every child by the year 2010 is served in some sort of after-school program if they need care.
Nearly a quarter of California's youth are unsupervised after school. RAP and AOK programs provide supervised and structured programs for kids like these.
The RAP program has affected many families, like the Flores family, who has participated at Roosevelt Elementary for 2 years.
When Anthony first started this program, he was very shy. Didn't talk a lot to the other kids, didn't really get involved with the projects. And just for an example today, he couldn't choose between all the activities that we had listed.
I like to play here, and I like to play with my friends.
Anthony's mom has seen her son positively affected by the RAP program.
He's really involved. He participates in all the activities, and he shares stuff that he learns here at home. So he's changed a lot. He really enjoys himself here.
I grew up in this neighborhood, so I know how important it is to have something to do after school. Because during that time, from school ending till about 5, 6 p.m., and a lot of these youth are on the street doing nothing.
1, 2, 3, hustle! According to a 2001 YMCA study, teens who do not participate in after-school programs are nearly 3 times more likely to skip classes or use drugs. Teens who are unsupervised during after-school hours are 37% more likely to become teen parents. Many local after-school programs help to keep kids busy and out of trouble. And according to a 2003 survey, it's working. Teachers report that children who attend structured after-school activities see improved attitudes towards school and are rated as having better social skills and fewer acting out behavioral problems.
Last shot.
The after-school programs set aside the first 40 to 60 minutes as structured homework time before the other activities begin.
It definitely eases the burden on the parents, and we've got a lot of parents that tell us thank you constantly for that. And we work, being that I work here at the school in a teaching format, I do the reading program, I'm able to interact with the teachers on a daily basis. So if there is any problems or any concerns that I might have, I'll interact with them to see if I can't do something out here in the field to help them as well.
The supervision that they receive here is much better. The homework help that they receive here has been much better. They actually do their assignments and come home with their work done right.
Local programs like RAP, AOK, and PAL give families the affordable option to provide activities for their children at convenient local sites.
AOK is After School Opportunities for Kids, and that's funded through the state of California. And that program is for children who are targeted to attend, and it's run through Santa Barbara School District. Santa Barbara School District contracts with Parks and Recreation to provide program leaders and funding. RAP is Recreation After School Program, and it's run through the Parks and Recreation Department. And it's fee-based, although we do have a lot of scholarships for children. And we also have partners with RAP, such as PAL, Arts Alive, and they provide free programming through a grant where kids are transported from any of our RAP sites and taken to different like clubs or dance or any other activities.
PAL, basically what we do is we offer after-school programming. We work in conjunction with the Parks and Recs. We use some of their facilities. We also have sports teams, and we go to tournaments, etc. And then we have a youth leadership group that goes to national events.
Just as Officer Gutierrez and the Flores family were touched by after-school programs, many more youth need these after-school programs that provide opportunities to help young people develop into successful adults.
I have seen quite a bit of 180-degree turns, I guess you could say, since we've been doing this now for 9 weeks. And the kids have just bloomed and blossomed all over the place, each at their own individual pace, but each one in a very distinctive way. And that's heartwarming for an educator like myself.
For more information about after-school programs, call the Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation Department at 564-5495. Well, there is one organization in Santa Barbara that is addressing the social needs of the Santa Barbara community. Up next, we'll show you how one youth-led organization is developing the city's next generation of engaged community leaders.
Yes! No! Yes! No!
Katerina Robledo and Deanna Dahlmeyer aren't really having an argument.
No! Yes!
They're playing a game designed to help with self-expression. They are both part of City at Peace, an organization that encourages young people between the ages of 13 and 19 to use theater as a form of empowerment.
I think it's really about having the youth share their stories and their life and how much in common they have with not just themselves, but with everyone else that they wouldn't really think that they have in common with. So it's about bringing all that together and showing the community how the youth feels about different subjects or different issues that are going on in our world.
And a lot of what's going on in their world involves growing up, struggling with social issues and dealing with stereotypes, not only of others, but oftentimes of themselves.
I have a great deal of respect for what they go through. And I hope that the community can understand that teenagers are way more intelligent and way more aware than we give them credit for, or way more aware than the teenagers themselves give them credit for. Because I think it's probably one of the toughest jobs a person can ever have, is learning how to grow up and learning how to be an adult and learning how to deal with all those issues in a constructive way.
Participants of City at Peace commit an entire year to a creative process. At the end of the year, they perform an original musical in front of an audience, a performance that reflects real-life stories and their ideas for a better world. That year-long creative process takes place right here at the Carrillo Recreation Center. A combination of activities is used to help teach teens the skills necessary for performance, both on stage and off. It's a way of using artistic expression to speak out about issues that youth care about and often are forced to deal with on a daily basis.
Here
if you're feeling down and sad, you can express that quote unquote on the stage. Whereas the community or the outside world, you're just always told maybe to keep how you're really feeling inside.
The theatrical part of it is really about empowerment. You know, this is why we don't choose a play that's already done and say, okay, everyone come do a play. We're asking them to create it from scratch, that they become owners of the piece.
In the process of unlocking artistic creativity, participants get the chance to connect with a diverse group of their peers, many of whom they may have never interacted with otherwise.
One moment that was really big for me, also as well as the group, was when we shared our life stories to each other. We got like a whole couple minutes to just talk about what we've been through, and talking to the group really helped me because I felt like I got a lot off my chest, and it also just made me feel protected, you know, like I had my own separate family. So it made me feel really like, wow, you know, these people actually care about me and they're willing to help me through whatever it is I need help with.
You kind of look at people, I remember like looking at people thinking, what's their life story? I wanted to know, like, where are they coming from? Like, when they go home, what are they going home to? And then you just sort of deal with them more personally. Like when you meet people, you don't deal with them as, you know, maybe as a stereotype.
City at Peace is creating positive development for youth not only in Santa Barbara, it is a nationally recognized organization. Since 2002, 91% of City at Peace participants have gone to college, compared to a national average of 68%. 92% of City at Peace youth said they resolve conflicts differently as a result of the conflict resolution and cross-cultural parts of the program.
I can see kids beginning to recognize, as one put it yesterday, just being aware of it and talking about it and not feeling that it's bad to talk about it is huge, you know, because where else do you get to talk about these issues?
And students themselves recognize that talking about those issues has made a difference in their day-to-day behavior.
I'm a little bit more calmer, a little bit more patient now with like just dealing with confrontations and stuff, especially with my parents. I try and listen more and be more open-minded to what they're trying to tell me, whether I agree with it or not.
I always used to be really quiet, and I never used to say how I felt about things. But now I feel more that I can now, because not only do I have the courage to do it, but I know how to do it.
And other young people are encouraged to express how they're feeling inside. City at Peace in Santa Barbara is still welcoming youth to join their group.
For teenagers out there who maybe think, oh, I don't want to act, I'm too shy, it might be silly, it's not all about just acting. It's a way for you to connect with other people and to meet other people.
And the best part of it all may be that
there's no grade.
If you or someone you know may be interested in joining City at Peace as a participant or adult facilitator, contact the group's artistic director, Joe Velasco, at 689-8447. Well, that does it for our boat trip and this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311 or visit our website at citytv18.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm your host, Rachel Senes, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.